Hello and welcome to another episode of the Best You interview series. It's Gary here again. Thank you very much, as always, for taking the time to join me. And today I'm delighted to be joined by founder of the Emotional Health Institute and co-developer of EmRes, which is Emotional Resolution, Cedric Bertelli, who is here to discuss exactly what EmRes is. I'll start by giving you a wee bit of an overview of what my research says about the work that Cedric has done to date, and then he will certainly be able to layer on and fill in the gaps for what I don't cover in this. EmRes is a neuroscience-backed, body-based method that empowers clients to permanently resolve limiting emotional patterns like fear, self-doubt, and shame. Now, this is so important of a conversation, and I did mean to emphasize the word permanently there, because a lot of times there'll be temporary relief through a variety of different types and styles of resolution work that you might choose to do. And that's where the permanency really resonated with me, and one of the major inspirations to get Cedric on the show. Cedric's work is revolutionizing how coaches, leaders, and clients move from survival mode into true embodied transformation by working to help people unlock deep, lasting change. He does this by teaching coaches how to help clients resolve, not just manage, emotional blocks that sabotage success. And during our pre-chat that Cedric and I had, there is so much interesting work that goes on to do this. And some of it, I have to say, was such an epiphany for me when I'm thinking, that makes sense. Why have I not thought of that before? Why are we not doing those types and styles of things before? Why are things not being explained in this way? So I'm so thrilled to get the opportunity to chat to Cedric about that. Cedric, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Gary. It's a pleasure to be here. I keep a fond memory of our first conversation, so I'm very happy to be here.
Good man. I appreciate that. So let's start, as I always like to do with each guest, to tell me a bit about your journey that took you to the spot that you're in right now, and specifically focusing on EmRes. How did it all get started?
So let's try to make it short, right? But from the very beginning, I came from a very small village from the south of France, about 80 people, and I was raised by my parents. My grandparents were there as well. I was very close to my grandfather, who passed away a couple of years ago. He was 101.
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna mention him because he was important in the creation of EmRes, in the sense that my grandfather was a World War II veteran. Right. He was in the 𝘀𝗵cie, which is, the men who were hiding. I say men because they were mostly men, hiding in the wood, listening for messages, and going down to do operation on Nazis.
Right.
And I always was interested, as I grew up, of course, about how him and most men of his age around the village were able to tap into a natural resilience process. After World War II, these men, of course, were holding some PTSD, no doubt.
Yeah.
The words, nothing is perfect. But the resilience process seemed very different from the way that our resilience process or our military resilience process seems to be happening. I see that working with the vets, for example. Yeah. So I'm just mentioning him because he was crucial in the development of EmRes. So I grew up in that village, south of France, then went to culinary school, actually, and studied to be a chef and working in hospitality business. Started my career here in California, working for the Ritz-Carlton, first in the kitchen, then in the restaurants. I was a director of restaurants. In the meantime, I was dealing with a lot of anxiety, personally, depression, self-directed anger, and was doing quite well at regulating it, mostly with alcohol. That was good regulation for me. But also I was putting myself through psychotherapy and did a whole bunch of workshops. I was really good at hiding it from the people around me, but inside it was a constant struggle. Mm. And in 2008, 2009, the economy went down, and it was a good time for me to leave the company. I wasn't in agreement anymore with the way I was supposed to run things. So I left and went back to France to study somatic therapy. Mm. And the reason why is because having been doing a lot of psychotherapy for a long time, I found myself really good at controlling, but numbing still as much, for many years.
Yeah.
And so thinking about my grandfather and how him and other men were able to tackle their anxieties and fears after World War II, I just knew that it was a different way to resolve the pain that I was feeling. And it's in order to get that I went back to France. And I started to study somatic therapy, how to use the physical sensations to resolve emotional difficulties. I studied with different people, such as Didier Godot, which was a physical therapist, and other people, and went back to the US 2011 to start my practice, start teaching, and then created EmRes in 2019, opening up the Emotional Health Institute in collaboration with Dr. 𝘀𝗵𝟏 in France. We opened a branch in Japan a couple of years ago of the Emotional Health Institute, and the Emotional Health Institute is a non-profit that is teaching emotional resolution, or EmRes. And EmRes was created, of course, with the influence of my grandfather, but in looking at how the brain constructs debilitating emotional pattern. And that's mostly with the work of Lisa Feldman-Barrett out of Boston, here in the USA. And of course, the influence of other philosophers, such as Spinoza, Merleau-Ponty, Henry Bergson, and such. Philosophers that have been talking about the body and using the body as a way to access healing. Gilles Deleuze as well, I should mention. And that's what I do now. I teach emotional resolution, as you said, to therapists, coaches, HR professionals, and I receive people to do resolutions with them, to help them resolve debilitating emotional pattern.
Wow, incredible. What a journey to go from the ability to be able to understand it's from your roots, your true literal family roots, to the journey that takes you to an opportunity to say that there is something to this through observation, through experience, and then your own literal life journey that you've taken. When you went back to France, was it with a view to, I'm career pivoting here, I'm going to do something very different from hospitality that I've done before? I'm not 100% sure what this journey looks like, but I just know that there's something different that I need to concentrate my effort on. How intentional was that?
It was 100% intentional.
Yeah.
It was a little scary because anything, I don't know for you, but in France, when you go into professional school, you start that at 14 years old. So the only thing I knew was, restaurant and hotel. That's it.
Yeah.
So it was absolutely intentional. I wanted to do something else, but it was a little scary and confusing because I had no idea how to do it. But I knew something had to change, and it wasn't my current life before shifting wasn't congruent with what I felt. I had no pleasure anymore.
Yeah.
I had no more joy. So and I was getting unhealthy. It was just not right.
Yeah. And taking those experiences, you mentioned your anger, you mentioned the alcohol, challenges and such. There's a layer of experience in here that you've been dealing with professionals or health professionals in terms of your own healing journey. Was that a core inspiration as well to say, there is something to this, I think I can contribute, I have to know more about this? How did that manifest or weave itself into your journey?
I think the way it weaved is being faced with how complicated everything I was trying was.
Right.
And how much control it was taking, how much action just to be just in a normal state of survival it was taken. And that for me wasn't normal. I mean, do you see that anywhere else in the world, like with any other mammals? Like, how much control does it take one person from the moment they wake up in the morning until they are dealing with societies, employees, and bosses to stay kind of like a tolerable level emotionally, and it just didn't make any sense. And I was always going back to my grandfather, right? My grandfather was a simple man, but he knew where his place was.
Yeah.
He was not less or more than anybody. He just was in his place. He was in French we will say un homme debout, a standing man. Not thinking that he's anything else than who he is, but anything less either.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem to me like he was controlling much,
Right.
and he wasn't abusing substances or anything like that. So what was it that allowed him and other people to tap into something that allowed them to just be without controlling constantly, just instead of being on trying to improve yourself constantly?
Yeah. And you can feel, I can feel the passion that you have here, because it's a journey for you. It's part of who you are, rather than something that you have a casual interest in, or something that you think you can make some money from, or something that you can in some way do some good, but it's not really truly at your core. It's a genuine lived experience for you. And I think that really would bear itself out in terms of the results you're seeking, the investment you have in your clients, and your ability to continue to look for more robust ways to be able to continue to refine the product.
Absolutely. I mean, it's you can sit back. I mean, you know that we talked about that. You can just sit back and just sit on what you know. It's impossible. We live in a ever evolving ecosystem.
Yeah.
And if we don't evolve with it, if we stop listening, reading, living, being outside, well, we become small. We become crusty. And then what? We speak from a place of past, no, or assumption, or no, it doesn't work this way.
Yeah.
And that's another thing about my grandfather. And then I shut up about him. But you know, he lived by himself until 95, and he was always gardening. And
Right.
for me, the idea of always being in sync with the ecosystem is key, right? We are aging, we are slowly dying when we cut ourselves from the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And something simple as gardening, until he stopped living by himself, it was gardening. So when you garden, yes, he was going to the garden every day. So there's a routine there. I often tell my clients, try to limit the routine. But when you garden, it's not really a routine. You have to be in sync with the ecosystem, with the season, planting, working the ground. It's every day different.
Yes.
And that keeps you alive, because it keeps you in touch with the environment, with the ecosystem. In the cities, we don't have that. In the cities, we wake up, we have coffee, we bring the kids to school, we sit down, we work out. I mean, we close ourselves from the global ecosystem.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So EmRes, tell me more about it, how it came to be, what the intention is, what the process looks like, and what you can expect to gain from it.
Yep. Well, it came from at the origin. The very origin of the work is kind of difficult to point, because I learn from a specific man. This specific man learned from somebody else, and it seemed that the very origin of the work is from somebody called 𝘂𝗵cie𝗂𝗵𝗂, who is a physical therapist, actually, who is based in south of France, next to a town called 𝘂𝗁, and has a clinic in Brazil for some reason, in Salvador da Bahia, I believe.
Yeah.
And 𝘂𝗁 simply noticed, when farmers were coming to see him, that when they were just paying attention to the sensations in their body without doing anything, without trying to control, things were changing in the body, and whatever they were coming for was improving. So I think if we go back to the root of where the work come from, is from this guy, 𝘂𝗁. And then it went through other work, other people, Didier Godot and other people, etc. And we took it over with Dr. 𝘊𝗵cie in 2019. We had great results up until 2019 without really understanding what was going on. What we were doing is we were re-triggering specifically an emotion. We were very good at it, and then we were letting the sensations play out until the end, and the emotion worked on was improving. Yeah. But we didn't really know why. And in 1918, my wife gave me a book from Lisa Feldman Barrett, which is called How Emotions Are Made, which is a book which is right there. It's one of my Bibles. And Feldman Barrett put everything we knew about emotion on the table and set it on fire. Because a lot of things we knew about emotion, the limbic system, the reptilian brain, all this is actually not true. It's not the way that emotion works. She was able to explain very clearly how emotions are made. Yeah. And from this understanding, it became very clear on how to unmake those debilitating emotional patterns that follow us for a lifetime sometimes.
Yeah.
And I can tell you how it works if you want me to in a nutshell.
Yes, please. Yes.
So why and how EmRes work is very simple. Very simple. Not easy, but very simple. And this is how it works. First, let's take a second to understand how the brain constructs debilitating emotional pattern. So what is a debilitating emotional pattern first? There are those emotions that keeps on coming back and that are not congruent with the experience that we're actually living, right? Because we call it emotional resolution, but we don't resolve all emotions. We are humans. So when I'm with my kid, I'm happy. You know, when I see something on TV that breaks my heart, I got a heartbreak, but it's congruent with what's happening. A lot of the emotions we feel are not congruent. The anxieties that we feel, the fear that we feel, they're not congruent with what's happening in our life. So that's what we resolve. Those anxieties, those fears, those depression that are not congruent to our current reality. Okay, so how the brain constructs emotion? A couple of things to know. First of all, the brain is constantly predicting. We can see that when we eat food, for example. If I eat a Granny Smith apple, the green apple, right? And the first time I bite it and have a sensorial experience. The crunchiness, the juiciness, the acidity. Wow, that's an experience. And after this first apple, in a week, 6 months, 6 years, 10 years, it doesn't matter. Every time I take an apple in my hand and I'm about to bite it, I'm going to know exactly what physical sensations I'm about to have. I don't even need to bite the apple. I know exactly how it's going to taste like. This is a prediction from the brain.
Yeah.
The brain predicts what you're going to taste. The brain predicts constantly based on past references.
Yeah.
Now, something that we need to know is the brain update prediction constantly as well. We call that learning. I always take the same example. If I go to an ice cream shop, an ice cream parlor, and you have their ice cream batches, they're brand new, so they didn't put labels yet. So you enter, no label, but you see a pink batch, green batch, brown batch, etc. And I love fruity things, so I see the pink batch, and I say, well, I'm gonna want 1 scoop of those, assuming, predicting that's gonna be raspberry or strawberry or something like that.
Yeah.
The person gave me a scoop. I come out, I take my little spoon, I taste it, and as soon as I put it in my mouth, it tastes like smoked salmon.
Yeah.
How many tiny spoons do you think I need to know that in this specific store, the pink batch is smoked salmon?
1.
1. It takes me about 1 second to know, forever until I'm proven wrong. And in this store, the pink stuff is smoked salmon and not strawberry. 1 second. Let's remember that when people think that it takes years to resolve an emotional difficulty. Because you see that debilitating emotional patterns are just outdated prediction from the brain. In life, it takes about 1 second to update the prediction. Now, in this example, I updated my prediction for this specific store. But because I wasn't exposed to any stress, this experience informed my entire life. That means if I go into another store and there is no label, before buying something, instead of like asking for something, I will ask, what is it? Because I was caught one time without asking. So I learned this one little experience informed my entire life.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't exposed to any stress. Okay, prediction, that's important. The second thing we need to know, and Feldman made it very clear in her works and studies, is that at the origin of any debilitating pattern is always an instant of trauma. So what is a trauma? A trauma is an instant, a moment that holds too much stress, physical or emotional, for us to take on when we experience it. That's it. It's just too much for us to take on when we experience it. So it's going to be different for 2 years old, 40 years old, etc. But that's it. It's too much. And when it's too much, what's happening is we dissociate. So it's not really the trauma the problem. The problem or the instant of dissociation during the trauma. You'll see that that's what creates the pattern later. A couple of things. What you and I, and everybody listening, what we gather consciously is about 2,000 bits of information per second, processed at the speed of 150 miles per hour. These are the numbers from the Penn University, 2012. They change, but the scale is always the same thing, right? What I'm going to say. 2,000 bits of information per second, processed at a speed of 150 miles per hour consciously.
Yeah.
Subconsciously, the brain can gather about 400 billion bits of information per second, processed at a speed of 150,000 miles per hour. So the prefrontal cortex, when everything is aligned, when there is no stress, the prefrontal cortex is used, among other things, as a filter. Because if we were bombarded by 400 billion bits of information, we were not able to sit here and have this conversation.
Yeah.
The prefrontal is filtering all the information so we can live in society. So we can live a civilized life. Now, every time we experience a trauma and there is an instant of dissociation, the prefrontal cortex shut down. The conscious brain shut down. The subconscious brain takes over. So imagine there is no more filter. And now you have this whirlpool opening up in your brain, gathering all the information happening around you. What you see, what you smell, the shape, the colors, the ambiances, the temperature. Your brain is recording all that at very high intensity, very high speed, in a non-linear, non-logical way. It's just gathering information without making sense of it. And your brain is also gathering what physical sensations you're feeling at that moment. Just like when you had this experience for the apple, your brain gathers what experiences you're feeling having this first apple. Same thing is happening here. So imagine a vortex open in and out, gathering all the information in and out. And when the dissociation stops, it shut down and you become conscious again. One of the reasons why in EmRes, I'm jumping a little bit, but we never talk about trauma with our clients is because within one trauma, we're going to dissociate several times.
Right.
And each one of those dissociations are going to give potentially a debilitating emotional pattern. So that's for it. But anyway, so that's what's happening during an instant of trauma, an instant of dissociation. Now later on, 6 months, 6 years, 60 years after, it doesn't matter. When the brain finds itself in a situation where it recognizes subconsciously one or several elements that were present during a specific instant of dissociation, your brain, my brain, is going to predict instantly what physical sensations you're about to feel based on what you felt during this original dissociation event.
Yeah.
And your brain is going to generate those physical sensations. Those physical sensations, we call that interoception. Those physical sensations is what let us know that we feel an emotion. We know that we feel angry. We know that we feel anxious. We know that we feel sad because we feel it in our body. It's not all here. It's in the body.
Yeah.
Now, those physical sensations that we feel when we have an emotion, that make us realize that we are in a fun. Those physical sensations are nothing else but an outdated interoceptive prediction from the brain. And when we feel those emotions, when we feel those sensations, as human beings, we control them. We've been learning to control emotions since we're 2 years old or before. Our parents try to control our emotions. Our teacher and parents taught us how to control our emotions. Breathe, imagine something, think about something else, have some water. Very early on, we build a wonderful, so to speak, emotional regulation tools, belt. And so when we feel an emotion, we control it one way or another because we want to keep, a cool face, because it's uncomfortable, we control it. And the control is what gets the pattern to repeat. What we found with EmRes, actually what we did, we took the work of Feldman and Barrett and we applied it to the word. We didn't put any flaws on it, we took it to the bone. What we found is that once you feel those physical sensations linked to the emotion, or to say at the root of the emotion, if you're able to feel those physical sensations without trying to control them or without having anyone to control them for you, if you're able to feel those physical sensations in a safe environment, at the end of those physical sensations, at the end of this sensorial or interoceptive prediction, the brain realizes that at the end of the prediction, you're safe and sound.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the prediction, your brain is anticipating for you to be hit by some kind of danger, like you used to, like it happened once. But at the end of the prediction, when you do a session, when you do it on yourself in a safe place, you're safe and sound. From that very instant, just like for the salmon ice cream, your prediction is updated.
Yeah.
And whatever stimulus used to create this specific emotion will not be a stimulus anymore. It is now recognized by the brain as a non-event.
Mm-hmm.
It will not come back.
Yeah. And it sounds, I mean, it's so profound to two major things for me. One is your brain's reaction to something is based on an outdated prediction, based on something that happened to you at some different point, different circumstance, different event in your life, and a whole bunch of things have changed since then. But it has to anchor itself somewhere to ensure that it gives you information that it thinks you need to be able to thrive, survive as you go forward. The second key thing for me, Cedric, is the simplicity. And I know, as you said, it sounds simple but very difficult to do. But the simplicity to be able to update that prediction, to say, yes, that was a thing that happened there, and we were both there, and we both felt and experienced it. And now there is something else that's happening here that feels semi-similar to that, but we don't actually know what it is yet. So we're going to go through a process. We're not going to try and stifle anything. We're not going to try and stop anything from being what it is, but we're going to just live within it. And then that's the literal rewiring. I mean, it sounds so simple the way that I'm saying it, and hopefully I've articulated it the way that it's supposed to be.
Sure.
You know, how do you do that? Because one of the key questions as a coach that I would have is, a lot of time, or maybe not a question, a statement, is a lot of times clients have great difficulty articulating what they're feeling, and even sometimes articulating the physical manifestation of what they're feeling as well. You know, when we try to have a conversation, it's kind of like sometimes they'll maybe guess, and they'll say, well, I've got a knot in my stomach, or I've got butterflies there, or I've got sweaty palms, or I get more, my breathing pattern changes or something. But there's not a full degree of accuracy that goes with that, especially on the emotional side. The physical attributes are more easy to identify because you can sometimes literally see it. You know, so how do you get beyond that with the people that you're working with to have them truly recognize, live through, experience the emotions to enact the rewiring of the prediction?
Okay, very good. These are great questions. So there's two ways to do EmRes, right? You can do it on yourself, by yourself, in the moment that you feel an emotion. That would be an hygiene of life, I would say, right? You realize you feel an emotion, you feel in a funk, and then you're going to do it on yourself. The fact is sometimes you cannot do it because you're in a meeting, because you're with your kids, or you have it doesn't matter. So sometimes you cannot do it. That's why you do sessions with practitioners who retrigger the emotion in a safe place. Now,
Yes.
the realizing the emotions, you know, the label of the emotion, labeling the emotion in EmRes is not necessary. I often tell my clients, you know, when you feel pretty content, okay, when do you feel in a funk, right? In what situation, for example, do you feel in a funk, or you don't feel like yourself, or something like this? So the label is not important. What's important is to realize when we feel triggered. And I think if we stop for a second, we can all notice when we feel triggered. Either way, because people around us tell us, or we realize that we're not feeling centered anymore. We feel either way jittery or not ourselves, or frustrated. So the label doesn't matter. What matters is to recognize when we don't feel like ourselves, when we don't feel content, so to speak. Yeah. So I want to make sure I answer your question properly. it is important for people to be able to feel the sensations in the body. So for some people, most people don't know that an emotion is made out of sensations. They think, I don't know what they think, actually. I don't know what they think an emotion is, but they don't think that an emotion is made out of sensation. So sometimes it's important to do two things. Number one, some people never felt sensations before. And some people, such as, for example, army veterans, have been trained not to feel their sensations. A ballet dancer have been trained to not feel their sensations often. So sometimes you take a little coaching on how to feel sensations. And I start very simply. I ask them, notice when you're hungry. Notice when you're thirsty. Notice when you have to go to the bathroom. Because yes, you know that you need to go to the bathroom. How do you know? Because you feel physical sensations. This is interoception. So for some people, you need to do a little work for them to become intimate with sensations, to not take what they feel for granted, but to realize, well, okay, there's sensation there. So they start to recreate this relationship, and then slowly ask them what do they understand what we mean by physical sensations. Give me some example. You said knot in the stomach, tight throat, heart beating, sweating palm, weak legs. It's exactly what we're looking for. Yeah. These are the physical sensations we're looking for. In an EmRes session, what we will do is we'll do several things to access the emotion. One of the ways that we access the emotion, we're going to ask the client to tell us about a moment when they felt the emotion they don't want to feel anymore. And from that very moment, we're going to trick the brain to re-trigger this interoceptive prediction. There's a way to trick the brain so the brain doesn't know if it's happening now or if it happened in the past. So we're never going to work on a trauma. We're going to take the person the way they are now and a situation that happened within the last few days or few weeks. And once they're going to replay the memory in a specific way, the body is automatically going to generate physical sensation, and we're going to take them into the body right away. We're not going to leave them a chance inside of the body right away. And through our instruction, we're going to keep them immersed in the body. Their job is going to be to have full attention to the flesh,
right,
and to feel the sensations as the sensations change, because the sensations are going to change, and to just be in attention with the sensation without impacting them, or without us, the practitioner, trying to make them feel better, or trying to ease the sensations in any way.
Yeah,
it is that simple in a way. And then the thing with human beings is we build emotion upon emotion. So for me, emotion lives on 3 layers. Conscious, that's the emotion that you realize you have. That's why people come to see us. The anger, the frustration, the anxiety. Conscious, it's in your face. You don't want them, so you're going to seek help. Then there's unconscious. The unconscious are the emotion that you know you have, but you don't want to look at. For example, the shame, the guilt, the low self-worth. So you don't want to look at because they do not match with who you want to put out there, with the character. So you put them aside. So that's unconscious. And then you got subconscious. The subconscious emotions are tensions. Tensions that are not strong enough to be conceptualized as an emotion, but that very much impact the dynamics of our life. For example, I meet you for the first time, never met you before, don't know anything about you. And for some reason, when we're coming close to each other, wow, I feel something in me. I feel tension. I'm not going to label it as tension. I'm going to have a feeling about you.
Yeah.
And why do I have this feeling about you? Is maybe because your smell reminds my brain of a kid who used to bully me when I was 6 years old. Maybe the shape of your face reminds my brain. There's nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
However, we're going to come close. I'm going to be filled with tension. And I'm going to make up a story about you. So, Gary, I'm not going to go in business with him because there's something about it. Actually, there's nothing about you. It's just my brain creating tension and me making a story about it.
Yeah.
So that's subconscious. Anyway, 3 levels of emotion. In an EmRes session, we're going to try to work on the 3 layers. The conscious, why you came to see me, it's interesting, but for me, it's just a door to go somewhere else. It's like a immune system. People come to see you for a fever when they have the flu. Okay, we're going to take care of the flu, the fever, but we're going to try to look for the antigen.
Yeah.
And so we're going to ask some questions, very simple, very impactful question. Some people will say maybe unkind question, because we're going to ask the question that other people don't want to ask. about your fears. And that's going to create sensation, that's going to create emotion, and we're going to resolve them one after another. I'm not sure if I answered your questions.
No, you absolutely did. Yeah, it was more, how do you draw out the, and I think you literally answered it by the last one by asking the questions. I mean, that's literally, you can't get that information without asking the questions, seeing what the reaction is, possibly challenging the answers if the answer comes, because sometimes they will be working at an emotional level that's not going to give you the information you need to be able to support them in a way. So to kind of further on, like, what would you say, Cedric, would be a client's like a barrier from EmRes being completely able to work? What barriers do you see from clients? Is it untruths? Is it, where they just don't want to go to a certain plot or spot in the story? The trigger isn't quite as triggering now as it was before. Are there patterns that you see with clients today that possibly make it more difficult for EmRes to be as impactful straight away?
Okay, very good. Yep, I'm going to answer that, but first I want to go back to the first answer to be more complete.
Yeah.
The way that we ask those questions, we don't ask the question to the cognitive of the person. But it's a lot about the positioning of the practitioner. We're going to we're going to ask the question to the mass, to the body. And this way, we don't get caught into the story of the client.
Yeah.
We work a lot on the positioning of the practitioner. So the practitioner doesn't work from social self to social self, but from something we could call from essence to essence, from mass to mass, from experience to experience. And the way that the question are phrased are much more impactful. I call that a sensorial meiotic. Like Socrates, it used to ask questions for people to discover life, so to speak. So we ask questions, but the questions are not directed to the conscious. The questions are directed to the fears. And so we're going to ask the question to the fear. The body is going to react, and we're going to the body.
Yeah.
A lot of the questions don't make any sense. Now, to go back to your question, what might make it difficult? Few things, I guess. One will be that the client put a lot of value on the original trauma and is afraid that by letting go of the pain that the trauma is still created in their life today, this is devaluating the experience that they had.
Yes.
And so we need to do maybe a little work on really getting the client to understand that the pain they feel today do not add any value or do not make the experience they had any more relevant, true, or painful.
And I think that's so profound and so intellectually obvious. Why would you want to continue to relive the same trauma? But in actual reality, in real life, very, very difficult to do, because I imagine they don't even know or think that's actually what they're doing, because the association is so strong. As you say, the identification, that's part of who I am. It's just part of what I have to live with.
Correct. And there's a loyalty, right? There's a loyalty of what was lived.
That's a great word to use for that, to be able to say, you can be loyal to the event in and of itself and the learnings that you've gained from the experiences you've gained from that, but you don't have to keep reliving it because that's what you're doing.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. This idea of loyalty is something that we find a lot in EmRes. When you see people repeating the pattern from previous family members around money, around relationships, etc., there is a strong loyalty that is created between 0 and 6 years old. That means that whatever I lived by then, that's the truth, that's the norm. And a lot of people are stuck and they don't know why, right? They have everything they need to succeed. They have the intellectual capacity. They have the right partner, and they're blocked and they don't know why. Very often, it's subconscious loyalty. And the question that I often ask is, how does it make you feel to know that you have to be disloyal? You have to be disloyal to your parents. You have to be disloyal to your lineage sometimes in order to have the life that you want. The loyalty has a lot of weight on people. They call that transgenerational trauma. I guess it's another name for it.
Yeah. And then you get that opportunity. It sounds so profound. You have the opportunity to educate them, to say, this is literally what you're doing. And you know the outputs and impacts that you're experiencing in your life as a result of that. And then you get the opportunity to heal. You get the opportunity for the actual emotional resolution in and of itself, to say, go forth and do something different now. You have new, you have new patterns, you have new memories, you have new ways of coping with things going forward. I mean, it's so powerful. And when we chatted before, Cedric, you'd said you can get to this in one session.
1 to 3
it's not a 12-month commitment where you really have to be diligent all day, every day and such.
No. People come to, I don't have really weekly clients. Some people come every week because they're on a path of emotional optimization, so to speak. And so we take life in categories: family, work, etc. And we dive into all the blockages, all the emotional difficulties in each category. But that's not the majority of my clientele. People usually come with a problem, an issue, and we work on it. And usually take between 1 and 3 sessions. And then they live life and they come back to see me for something else when something else is happening. And in the meantime, we teach them how to do that on themselves, by themselves as well. So they have autonomy.
Absolutely. And what type, is there a specific type and style of client that you're working with? Is it professionals? Is it retirees? Is there a gender, specific or specificity to it?
It goes from 8 years old to end of life people. It goes from veterans to businessmen to lawyers to moms, dads. It doesn't matter, because when it comes to emotion, we're all equal. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter who we are, what we lived. The way that the brain constructs debilitating emotional pattern is the same. That we've been raped, that we had a difficult birth, that we had a car accident, that we were bullied, that we were neglected. It doesn't matter. The way that our brain creates emotional difficulties is the same for all of us. So and we all have emotions. We all have emotions that we know are toxifying our life. And we control them. And sometimes we think, oh, I'm an anxious person, or I'm an angry person. That doesn't exist. An anxious person doesn't exist. An angry person doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So if you accept to reconsider and to let go of those emotions that you think have been you because they've been you maybe for 20 or 30 years, it can be resolved. So that's one thing that I want to make clear. It doesn't matter for how long you've been having that. If you notice that is not congruent, if you keep on having anger or frustration, don't take it for granted. Come and try it. Resolve whatever you can, so you have more joy, more energy too.
Absolutely. And I'm sure everyone has something that they could do with putting on the back burner, or putting in the rear view mirror to say, this is genuinely not serving me. It's maybe not a massive inconvenience, but it's an inconvenience in and of itself anyway, and doing something about this. Cedric, this has been absolutely fascinating, and I would love to go deeper on this with you at some point. Maybe we could get you back on again at some point, because I know we're just scratching the surface. You've shared so much information, so much to absorb, and I love the work you're doing. I love the way the passion you have and the delivery that you have. As you know, this is called The Best You, and the intent is to give people an opportunity to understand what other people are doing to give them the best opportunity to be the best version of themselves. What's one regular practice that you employ to give Cedric the best opportunity to be himself?
Well, I do emotional resolution on myself as much as I can.
I would have been disappointed if you didn't say that, by the way.
And I don't do it often enough. I mean, ask my wife. It's like, you think I'm a Zen monk? No, it's just like, do your thing. Do your resolution. So that's what I do as much as I can. And that's something that you keep on doing, because life changes all the time. So you're always exposed to new things at work, in the family, new kids, new pets. And so you say, how come you keep on doing that? You've been doing that for 20 years. Well, because life changed constantly.
Exactly.
Don't take anything for granted. So that's what I do. Something that I do as well is I try to spend as much time outside as I can.
Yeah.
I also do cold showers, because I feel like cold showers is a moment that, you know, it takes you back, it brings you back into the body. You have no choice.
Yeah.
You have no choice but to be back into your body, to be back in. And that's pretty much it. And try to move my body and try to do things that make me feel joyful, you know, as much as possible.
I love it. Where can people find out more about you and about EmRes?
The best way is to go to www.emres.com. And here they will find the theory behind the work. They will find practitioners, the classes, etc., etc.
Fabulous. Cedric, I knew this was going to be a great conversation. I'm so inspired. The energy that you have, as I've mentioned before, the information you're sharing, the hope that I hope people are listening and watching will get from this, and the ability to make some changes that are going to serve them and serve their community better going forward is just absolutely inspirational. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you very much, Gary. You know, it's a new process in a way, and we've got to share it. And so I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to explain it, and the genuine conversation was greatly appreciated.